think it's time for a light tutorial. What I want to do is I want to go over how to add lights into your map and how to play with them. I want to show you how to add a basic light, change its different properties. I want to show you the difference between a point and a spotlight. I want to show you how to add fog, and I want to show you how to turn a light on and off using a switch. Now what I've done is I've loaded a simple test map right here. It's just a very small room, small enough for us to move around and see the differences, and a spawn point. So we have a blank slate that we're working with. And let's begin by adding our basic light. Our basic light is nothing more than right-click, light. There we go. We now have light in the map. I can show you this by either running the BSP, that's compiling it, and then running it in the game to show you the light, or I can actually show you right here from the editor. If I hit F3, I go into render mode, and if I hit F7, it updates that information. This time it happened to be updated, but in some cases you will find that playing with these, that the lights don't update themselves, and I'll be hitting F7 a lot throughout this tutorial to show you that. Now how do I know that this is actually being rendered in my, as if it would in a game? Look at that. As I move this around, it's changing. This makes it very helpful whenever you're adding and playing with your lights within your editing, so that you can get the right effect for the game. Alright, let's go on. Now, let me show you what these different properties of the light are out here, what these different representations are. I have three major points. I have a point, a red dot in the middle. That is my point of origin. That's where the light is being sourced from. I can actually move that origin point around. Why would I want to move it around? Well, let's say I have a texture up here at the top of the ceiling that it looks like a light. And I want it to look like light is coming from that texture. Now if I take the light itself and move it up, it kind of looks like it's coming from there. But whenever I zoom into the ceiling area, sure, it's right up there. Let's say I could have the light down here and still have the light looking as if it's coming from that point of origin. So I can move my origin around. That can be helpful in different situations. The next thing I want to show you is this red outline. This red outline is just a visual representation of the entity. I'll turn off my render mode over here and you can see it again, and it's like a diamond shape almost. It's a visual representation. It is nothing more. It doesn't do anything in the game except help you find your light and select it and work with it. Now our next piece is this pink line, this outline. That is our radius. That is the distance that the light can shine. And the distance between the point of origin, the brightest part, to the blackness, the outside of the radius. Everything in between is really your fall off, the amount of space it takes to go from bright to dark. Now, let's get into some more of these points. I showed you what the origin is. Let me show you how you can move it around. I'm going to zoom into this front view here. I seem to move my camera wrong. Okay, here's my ceiling right up here. Here's my light source. I want to take this point of origin and I want to show it off right up here. I can do that from the entity editor over here. You can see I selected entity, or I can hit N on the keyboard. That brings up the same thing. And this is actually, since I've been moving this light around, my point of origins has not been updating. And a quick way to update that is actually to move this slider. There, now I'm updated. This frame 0 I'll just delete because that's what happened. That's like the animation slider, and we don't need that frame in there. But it helps us update this origin point. Now it says right here that on the z-axis, which is our up and down, I'm at point 96. And I want to go from here to, let's say I want to put the point of origin right up at the top. I know my grid is 8. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's 32 units on top of the 96. So I want my point of origin to be 128. I could have also looked over here and seen the line. Okay, I'll back that up. 128, hit enter, and there's my point of origin now. My point of light is being sourced from up here, although my visual representation of the entity is down here. That's the difference between the two. Okay, let me show you how to adjust this radius. There's all kinds of different little tricks that you can play with here. I am going to show you how to set up a quick radius. Say I want the light to only affect what's within this room. I want it to be just fade out the blackness by the time it hits the ends of the wall. Let me delete the entity that I have right here first. I hit the backspace key. Let me get a top view. And I am going to draw out a brush. I don't care what the texture is right now. And I'm going to fill up the room. Now I have a brush that fills up the entire room. You see, top to bottom, X, Y, Z, all covered. I right-click that, and I turn that into a light. Now my radius is the exact same size of the brush. Pretty neat, huh? Now, there's another way to do that. There is a really nice hotkey for playing with these lights. It is the J. Watch me hit the J. Now, I can play with the radius right here. I can adjust the points. Right now, I'm at 152, 152, 64. That means I am 152 units from the point of origin to the outer diameter. That is the radius, not the diameter. So we got to be careful. We're not talking about the entire span. We're talking about like half the span. So I could say I make that the default. If I made that 300, 300, 300. Now I'm back to this large radius again that's extending outward. So I have the whole room filled up. Nothing is escaping my light. Let's move on to how to change the colors. There's two ways that I like to play with colors in here. You can hit the K, which is your color picker. I can go through and I can choose an interesting red color right here. And you can see the entity updated, the visual representation there updated with the color red. I'll go over into my render mode, and you can see I have an interesting red color going on right in there. And that same, you can also access the color picker from the light editor, which is the J key, remember. If I click color here, I can change the color over here. Now I can make a blue. I can make it a sort of greenish yellow. Now these three checkboxes up here on the upper right, very important actually. Though this one for casting shadows, that is when something gets behind the light, there is a shadow cast on the other side of it. Cast diffuse, that is the way that the light disperses as it goes through an item, let's say through glass or something like that. And a cast specular, that's the way the light reflects off of different things. These have dramatic effects on your frame rate when you're in the game. So if you don't need these on, uncheck them. Because sometimes you'll have a little light showing up in front of something that just to illuminate that area, but it's not really there to make an impact like it's coming from a spotlight or something like that. No, you just need the light there. Well, uncheck those because it'll have a great effect on how your map will be played. You know, it'll cut down on that frame rate for you. This brightness level does nothing. How do you change the brightness? Well, ID thought it would be easier for you to change the brightness in your map by fading to black. Black is a black light, so it has no light. If I fade up somewhere in the middle, you can see it's almost like I'm sliding the light from off, sliding it all the way up to on. There's your fader. So that is how you adjust your brightness within the map. Now you can also get into other interesting styles. Okay, I can right here is a texture. That is how you can pick different styles of the light. Say flickering, or actually that's the main one. So if I go down here and let's pick one that flickers in some way, I can, the first one actually, alarm strobe. Alarm strobe is one that goes blink, 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 and how do I know that? Because right here. It takes a little while for this thing to load up, but you can see the texture and you can see it blinking. Another one that I can choose, because that one is really annoying. So if you want to really annoy someone, choose that one. Another good one is, let's see, round fire, I think it's called. So let me see if I can scroll down to round fire here. Round fire. There's an interesting light. It's almost like the flickering flame of the light. Now if I click OK here, it doesn't actually show you the animation. But I'm going to show you what it looks like in the game. I'm going to BSP, I'm going to run it in the game for you and show you what kind of effect that is. There's the effect of that firelight. See, just like the like a campfire. It gives a really neat effect. So you put this, maybe some blood on the walls. It's kind of scary. Okay, let's get back. Alright, let me get into the differences between a point light and a spotlight. What we have here right now, that is just a point light. I'm going to delete it and just add a normal light back into this. Go over here and hit F7 to make sure all my information is updated. I'm going to move this up to the ceiling. There we go. This is a point light. All the light emanates from a point and spreads out evenly. That's what a point light is. A spotlight is focused light. It takes that light from an origin and focuses it in a specific direction. How do I make that? I hit the J key. Instead of a point light, right up there, which is automatically selected, I select projected light. Now here's all the things that I can change in it manually. I can change the direction that it's pointing, what it is targeting, which is like the distance. You can explicitly say it starts here and ends here, so that the light does not travel any farther. So, but I can also do that right from in here. Let me back up a little bit. There we go. You can see the spotlight right there on the floor. Now what I have is I have my radius. I'm going to change my view here and it'll all make sense. There we go. There's our spotlight. I have our radius as it goes out to a distance. I have these editable points actually. They are editable. How do you edit them? I found a trick here. You have to deselect your light, reselect it. Now I can go right in here, click, and drag. You see that light over there on the right side? It's moving as I move it around. It's amazing. Now, whenever I said that you can have like an explicit start and stop, this already has it in there. You can see it turning black as I get farther away from that corner. That can also help with frame rates in certain instances. If you have a spotlight shining up to something, you only need it to reach that object and not reach any further. Okay, let's play with the spotlight a little bit. You can change the styles of these lights. You see, this is very square. I can also change the amount of focus. Okay. Let me hit the J key and show you another style. I can go in here and I can find a round one. So let's say big round one. That should work. We'll see. There's round. I go over here. Let's say OK first, and it'll should update for me. There it is. Nice round spotlight, just like you would expect. The problem with using these different filters, well, they're called textures, filters. It's the same thing. I haven't found a filter that works with a switched light. So if you have a light that you want to turn on and off, I can't seem to get it to work with a texture. Since we're talking about that light, why don't we get right into switching? I showed you how to add the spotlight and how to manipulate it a little bit, how to play with the radius and the distance, the color. So let me remove the texture. I'm just going to hit the delete. There we go. Click OK. I can leave this as a spotlight if I want. It'll probably give an interesting effect on what we're about to do. I'll shine it across to the wall because I'm going to put a switch right here. And this light's going to shine on the switch, and when I click it, the light's going to go off. So let's make sure I'm lined up. There we go. Okay. Escape. So I don't have anything selected. I'm going to turn off this render mode because it can suck up some juice a little bit. And I'm going to put a switch over here. To start with, let me grab a texture. I'm going to grab, actually before I grab the texture, because opening those textures is also slowing down my progress. Right there I'm going to put a switch. It's not going to be pretty, but it'll work. It'll get you the idea of how to do it in your own map. I want to texture that with no draw, because I don't want the entire face to show. I only want the front of it. So I'm going to go up to here. I'm going to look for common textures, not base wall. Go to common, and right in here is no draw. And then I'm going to select the face of this, Control plus Shift plus left click, and I'm going to turn that to Entity GUI because I'm going to put a GUI on the front that we can use to switch. There we go. I'm going to get out of this texture window, this media window. I'm going to click in here now. I need to change the size of my GUI here. Right now it's obviously oversized. Make sure nothing accidentally selected. So I'm going to hit the S key. What I did was Control Shift left click. That gave me just that face there. I'm going to fit it so that the GUI fits right inside that box. Now I know when I add the GUI to this, it'll fit right inside that box. It won't be oversized by accident. I'm going to select this. I'm going to turn it into a function static. I'm kind of going over this quick because I've gone over this before, like where the cabinet code where you enter your security code. That goes into much more detail for you if you want to check out that video tutorial. I want to turn this into a function static. Now it's an entity. Now I can give it, hit N on the keyboard, I can give it a GUI. I can choose what kind of GUI to use. And I played with a whole bunch of different GUIs in here the other night, and I found out that there's a lot of them have too many parameters to work with, no on and off states. But I found one that did. It's under control panels, and it's called light something 3. It's called light switch 3. I'll select it. You see it's lights on and off. That's perfect for what we want to do here. That is set up. Now all we have to do is target our light. There's a couple ways I can do it. I'm going to do it the easy way. I want this to target this name. If I select my switch first, my light second, hit Control OK. There's a green line, I don't know if you can see it so well. You can see it over here that showed up that says this is now targeting that. I'll hit Escape and make sure. I'll show you what it did. There we go. It says that, slide down, my target is hitting light 3. So this, I'll hit Escape, I'll select the light. The name of this is light 3. That's it. This should actually work now. So I'm going to save it and I'm going to compile it. BSP. I'm going to hit F2. Oh. There we go. There's our spotlight shining right on our switch. If I click the switch, light goes out. Click it again, light comes on. There you go. That's how you switch lights. Now we have one more thing to go over in this tutorial. I want to go over adding fog. Fog has been a subject of debate lately because there's only so much you can do with it, and it's a tough effect, and I think that's why they didn't use a lot of it in the game. I don't remember seeing a lot of fog. A lot of play with lights like darkness and brightness and colors, but not a lot of fog. Actually, the only one that stands out in my mind is one that was inside of a duct, and I don't remember it even looking that good there. Alright, so let me start by adding a light. Actually, before I add a light, I'm going to add it by selecting my area. Remember I showed you how to draw out the brush, fill up the size of the room, and then turn that into a light. Now the reason I did this is because I don't want my fog extending outside of these walls. I only want the fog to be within this room. Now if I leave it as it is right now, I am going to have a problem because when I turn this into fog, it's going to render sort of like a texture within the light. I'm going to get, since it's touching this other wall, I'm going to get a flickering effect. That is no good. We don't want that flickering effect as you're walking around the level. So I should have actually made that a little bit bigger. I can fix that. I can change my light radius right here. Hit the N, Entity Editor right here. I can change it. I'm going to extend each of these out by 4 points. So instead of 152, I'm going to go 156. Why 4? Because my wall thicknesses are 8 units thick. I want to go inside the wall. I want to go half. I don't want to extend outside because I don't want it to look bad on the other side of the wall. I don't want it to look bad on the inside. I want it to fit right in the middle. There we go. Now it's in the middle of the wall. I shouldn't have a bad effect. I have my light selected. I'm going to hit J key to bring up that light editor, and I am going to turn this into fog. Simply by selecting a texture. Click OK. Let me show you what that looks like. I'm going to go into render mode, F3, update the information, F7. There it is. Now in some cases this won't work out very well because we don't have any light going on with it. Let me render this and show you what we have. No errors, F2. And right now, this basic fog does cast a light, but only on the fog itself, which is why we can only see inside of the fog. So I hit the J key. I can change the color. I can give it a darker look, thicker, whatever. Right now I'm just going to leave it at full bright. Okay, okay. I'm going to escape. I'm going to add another light in here, so that now you can actually see the walls and everything else. There's the light that we just entered. Fog. Okay, I want to show you what that looks like. There we go. Now we can see our walls. We have our fog in there. We should turn down the light probably to get a better effect, but that's all final tweaking. Okay, what else can we do with fog? We can change its color. I find that to be a great effect in the game. You can see what's going on over here. I'm going to deselect. I'm going to change the color of this light because it is too bright. There we go. I can also play with the different kinds of fog we have. Basic fog, it's just fog thickness, nothing more. I can play with glare fog, which is... the only way to do is to show you. It actually produces like a glaring effect on everything. It like over brightens what's going on. So you see, we don't have any real fog, but it does like a... It's almost like when you look at the sun. It's maybe you'll find a use for it in your level. So you go ahead and play with that. And outside of that, you can just play with these different types of fogs that we have in here. Some of them don't have actual textures that show up. Others do. And I'm going to quickly show you what can go wrong with the fog. I'm going to go back to what we had over here in the origin. And I'm going to show you what this effect does. Why is this a bad thing to have touching a wall instead of being inside the wall? Because when you move around, you get texture flickering. Disgusting. What happens when it's not touching the wall? This is another problem with fog. This black to fog. This is one of the reasons why I don't think we see a lot of fog within the game. So use it sparingly, but you can fill up a room and you can have a lot of fun with it. So there we go. I hope this has helped you in your quest to have a better lit map. Happy mapping.